share my screen. Hopefully everybody can now see a presentation. Yeah?
Yes.
Superb. So thank you so much for joining us today. This presentation should take 20-25 minutes, depending on how chatty I get. And then by the end of it, you'll have an opportunity to talk to me. I'm Helen Ormerod. I'm the assistant principal and the head of primary. I've been at Hastings 5.5 years now. I came from the UK, where I'd been a head teacher of two federated schools, and was the chairman of a multi-academy trust. I came to Madrid to try and start taking life a little bit easier. That didn't happen, and I have because we've just kept on expanding, and I have a lovely life here, and no, if anybody asks, I have no intention of going back. So there we go. So today's presentation is mainly around the primary school and what we do, what we stand for, and to give you some examples. However, I am also going to talk a little bit some basic facts about the school itself, because obviously you join us in primary. The aim is that you stay us till the end. Just talking over what our educational aims are and how do we try to achieve those aims, and then what learning looks like in our primary settings. Okay, and that does include early years, just in case it was clear. So we're going to start with the basics. So I like to, when I talk about starting with the basics, sometimes it's really important for people just to understand the structure of our curriculum. So we have, as with anything, education is just as bad with little acronyms than everyone else. So when we talk about early years, we talk about our youngest children, from pre-nursery, nursery, and reception. So that's from 2 years old to up to 5 years old, the year they turn 5. Key stage 1, it is quite confusing even for people in England, years 1 and 2. So that's our 5 to 7 year olds. Key stage 2 are years 3 to 6. That's our 7 to 11 year olds. And then we move in, so that's all under my remit in primary. Then we move into secondary. So you hear about key stage 3, which is what we call our middle school, if you like, year 7 to 9. Key stage 4 is when they start to come into the exam years, years 10 and 11, and we do IGCSEs in this school. And then key stage 5, that's our pre-university centre, where we have years 12 and 13. And at that point, you either do A-level, or from September 2022, we'll be introducing the International Baccalaureate, okay, or IB as it's quite often called. So that's a lot of information. Obviously, this presentation will be shared with you as well as the video if you wanted to go back. So just what does that look like for us? So we in primary have 3 separate buildings where the school started 50 years ago in the Chamartín area. So we have Paseo de la Habana building, which is our early years centre, Bendición, which has our pupils from year 1 to year 4, and Azulinas, where I am at the moment, where the older children, year 5 and 6. However, we also have another building over in Arturo Soria in Sobradiel, it is a 1 form entry school all the way through. So we've got 3 form entry in this area, so quite a lot of children. That's why we've spread them out in 3 buildings. And in Sobradiel, there's 1 school which does the lot. And then when they finished with us in primary, they moved to secondary. So like I said, LST, there is a building where all the years 7, 8, and 9 are the middle school years, and then eventually the children move to our wonderful Nexus campus, our pre-university centre. It's an unusual setup, I suppose, if you think about it. However, it does work well because, especially in primary, you have these, and in secondary as well, you have these rites of passage from one building to the next, and it does work very well. It's a very large school. However, it doesn't feel like one because of all the buildings. So just to be clear, wherever the locations are. So I'm at the moment sat in this building here, number 4. which is the Atholinas building. Paseo de la Habana is 1 and 3 is Bendición. So these are the ones that are really literally 7 minutes walk away from each other. Our other primary campus is here in Conde Orgaza, Torosoria area, the Sobrediel, and then the LST and MM8, the secondary buildings are here in Arturo Soria, very close to the Arturo Soria bus stop, metro stop. And there is a shuttle which goes from this area to this area for secondary. So, it's important for us to understand that. So some facts about our school. We have been growing in recent years and are likely to continue growing in number, because not all of the buildings are full yet in the secondary area. So currently we have 1,240 students from 3 to 18. So that is a good size school. That's a big school. However, like I say, spread out over the campuses, it doesn't feel as though it's a school you will get lost in. The average size of our teaching groups in early years, so that's our youngest children, it's 17.6. It does range. So we have a pre-nursery class in Sobradale of 6 children, and we have a class of 22 in reception in Paseo de la Habana. So the average is 17.6, but the range is quite large. But that's still quite small. They are small class sizes. In years 1 to 6, it goes up just a little bit. So it's still under 20 as an average class size. And the important thing is your adult to pupil ratio, which is 1 to 7 for early years. Obviously, the younger the children, so these are our 2 to 5-year-olds, the more adults there are to look after them during the day. And then in primary, the adult ratio is still 1 to 10. So they're very, very good teacher-pupil ratios, which enables teachers to have sufficient non-contact time to plan and, do good, to be prepared to deliver really strong lessons as well. And right, so that was just basic facts about the school. And if you need more information about secondary, obviously, you can speak to the secondary team. However, the most important is, what do we at Hastings want to achieve with our pupils? So we have our core values. We have 4 core values, and this is the essence of Hastings and what we're about. So the first one is care, and this is the heart of our school. This, when we were talking about our core values and realigning them with what actually happens in the school, this came very, very strongly from parents, from our pupils, and from our staff. This is and will continue to be a caring community. Individual welfare and happiness is of vital importance. We also explicitly teach how to care for each other, how to care for the environment, the planet. Our eco teams are very, very strong. How to care for the world is very, very important. Our second core value is curiosity. And what we mean there is, we want our children to learn, but we want them to learn in ways that actually inspire passion for what they're learning about. That curiosity, that learning that comes, is intrinsic. It's not imposed by the teacher, but it becomes part of what they want to do in life. Because the idea that if we can teach our children critical thinking, problem solving, not just learning and regurgitating information, that's the key for why curiosity is an important value for us. However, we also expect our students to be success. We don't want to be just a nice school with good lessons. We want pupils to do really well. We want them to get excellent exam results to be able to access excellent universities. That's what success would be. But we're going to talk a little bit about success later, because it's not just about passing exams. And finally, global. Because we are a global schools group, we are a global school. We have a number of different, over 50 nationalities represented in our school community. And therefore, it's not just about knowledge around the world, but it's that cultural intelligence. Now, these are, one could say that they're very simple core values, but they're ones that people can remember. And if you came and visited the school and said, you will see those being enacted. Okay, and when we talked about success, we like to think about preparing our children for three types of success. Three types of success. Success at school, obviously, that's what we want them to do. We want them to do well. That's why we want them to come to us and to achieve well at school, and then move on to university and have a successful time at university. Get access to those to have the option to go where and when they would like to. But actually, most importantly, we want them to have success in life. So we're just not preparing our children to get to the next stage of education. We want them to be successful in life as well. So you may be thinking, my child's only 3. I'm not thinking about that right now. But actually, I just wanted, for those of you who are, because there may be, this is important for you to know where we are. So this slide is about our university applications last year. So the children who are currently applying for university are doing it right now, but the ones who left us in June, these are the different countries they applied to. So as you can see, the UK and Spain are still very, very high on the list, but Holland is coming up, the Netherlands coming up behind because they're doing a lot of courses in English. And with Brexit and other issues, they're going to become more and more popular. But this was the most wide-ranging number of countries that students had applied to ever at Hastings. So then where did they end up going? As again, like we said, we would expect, the majority went to the UK, then came Spain, the Netherlands, quite a few, and then a few more in different. We even have children now going to the US, which is interesting. And just so some of the notable universities that we sent the children to, somebody went to Cambridge, UCL, Imperial. These are all top universities. And I think I'm not going to bang on too much about it, because if you have small children, you're probably not thinking that far yet. But the point is, that's what we do at Hastings, and that's where they can end up. And I think it's important that we should be proud of what we achieve here. So we talked about life, preparing children for life. Now, Mr. Tetley, who when he joined us as principal, met with a lot of parents when we were looking at the core values and what we should be standing for at Hastings. And there was lots of different thoughts from people who work in business, who are part of our parent community, and these are the abilities or habits that we want our children and our students to be able to have to be successful, not just at school, but at university and for life as well. And this has been a very a big project around how do you actually get there, because to be honest, you can always say, oh, well, we teach children about risk taking. Well, really? How do you do that? And so this is why we have really worked very hard to look at our curriculum and to say, this is how we do this. And hopefully we'll show you some concrete examples of how we do that even with our youngest children, because we feel it's very important that we have to have these broader horizons. Okay, so how do we aim to achieve this? Because having these wonderful aims and philosophy is one thing, but actually getting there is another. So the first thing we want to say is relationships are key. It comes through in all of the surveys that we do. One of the things the parents value most about our school are the relationships between the teachers and the pupils, the relationships we foster between pupils and pupils, and also that we model with the adults as well. Our students are happy. We have a culture of care and kindness. There's lots of individuals to help. We've got class teachers. We have deputy heads who are non-teaching in primary. We have teaching assistants, support teachers. There's a lot of a very strong pastoral support team. but we also specifically teach how to get along with other people through our PSHE program, or in early as part of the early years curriculum, which is the personal, social, health and economic education. So we're specifically teaching our children about these things. We have well-being surveys. We're actually carrying them out at the moment. They come every year in sort of November, December time for children from year 3 upwards. And we ask them, are you happy at school? Do you feel safe? Do you know where to go if you have a problem? All of these things. And we look at the data, we drill down into individual responses and we pick them up if there are anything. It's a real key of our care. We also have learner surveys as well. So that means that not only do we ask them about how they feel about being at school, but we also say, so how does your teacher help you? So can you rate your teacher on 1 to, I'm going to be honest, with the youngest children from year 3, 4, 5, they love their teachers, so they just get top scores all the time, which is really lovely. However, you know, as children go through the school and can start to discern, maybe in secondary, that there's some teachers that maybe have a certain teaching style that they don't like as much, and they tell us. And that gets fed back to the teachers. And I think that's really healthy as well. Another way we achieve this is our whole school philosophy based on the learning power approach. Professor Guy Claxton is a scientist, and he's neuroscientist and professor at King's in London. And this philosophy, I first met Guy Claxton 15 years ago when I was a head in the UK, and we were developing this idea of the learning power approach and what does that look like. And he's done lots and lots of, he's written lots of books around how children learn best and what we can do to support them with this idea of not just knowledge, but those mistakenly called sometimes softer skills as well. So this is what we say: young people learn successfully when they are emotionally engaged. Are they enjoying what they're doing? Are they happy? I think that's number 1. When they're required to think for themselves, if they just have to learn something and spit it back out again, it doesn't stick, or it may stick for a while, as some of us who may have ever crammed for an exam know, but you can't remember it afterwards. Are they able to work with and learn from each other? Collaboration is a huge part of what we need our young people to be able to do. And encouraged to take responsibility for their learning. So these 4 pillars are how we feel we can successfully look at a lesson and say, okay, is the teacher doing that? And we can do that from early years right up to A level. And I think it's a really simple approach. Now, in primary and also further up the school, we've developed learner habits that the children are explicitly taught about. And these are our wonderful 8 learner habits. This particular poster is a reflection of what a project that the year 8 children and the primary children did last year. They looked at, what does curiosity look like? In your head, what does it look like? What does thinking look like? So these are our 8 learner habits. And this is how we explain to children, right, today, we're going to be doing some maths work, but today you're also going to take responsibility because you are going to choose which level of difficulty you're going to do, whether you're going to be responsible for your learning and know whether if this is something easy for you, choose a more complicated task, etc., etc. Anyway, I love this poster and I love these really simple ways of looking at it, and this is something we explicitly teach. So that's quite a key part. So we've got our key relationships with the children, this learner power approach to teaching, but also we've got highly qualified teachers. They are all UK qualified native English speakers. And I think that's very important, which are regular training. This year in particular, we've introduced professional learning time. So every fortnight, teachers are given some time off timetable for professional learning, because we do a lot of training, maths training, talk for writing, leadership learning walks, etc. And we ask our teachers to keep up regularly with the latest pedagogical thinking. And actually, what we realized was we throw a lot at our teachers, say, come on, this is what we need to be thinking, discussing next. We've just had a staff meeting tonight where we've looked at another chapter in the Learner Power Approach book. However, teachers also have to have a bit of time to assimilate all this. So now we've built that into our timetable. But we also monitor teaching and pupil performance. We have moderation across schools. We've just done recently, the staff meeting before this week was moderating writing. So teachers brought all their children, examples of children writing together, spread them out on a table, and we went, okay, so, well, I think this is where they should be. Oh no, I'm not so sure, because this, and it's really powerful stuff. We also do that not just within our school, but within the whole Cognita group of schools, which is great. So we have an idea that where we think our children are is where they should be. We also have standardized tests as well for benchmarking. So at the end of every year, we do a standardized test. It's very quick and simple. Children don't know it's a test because they do it on the iPad, and they do it on a computer, and it quickly tells us where they are against hundreds of thousands of children all over the world, which is really helpful. And we share that information with parents. I do love this picture. This is for me, as a teacher of early years, seeing a little boy engaged in writing, to me, is one of my favorite things in the world. So how do we actually do this? What does this look like for us? All these wonderful ideas. So we have full immersion in English from day one. We have, so even our youngest children of 2 years old, they come in, they may not have any English at all, they hear it, day in, day out. In fact, we do not even start teaching Spanish until year 1, so not until they're 5. We have a topic-based curriculum, which is creative and makes explicit the links between subjects. And it encourages pupil talk. So it's not, oh, it's this 2 o'clock, it must be maths. We do have lots of different ways of teaching and things that come in. And with our topics, we call Brilliant Beginnings and Fabulous Finishes, which are a project, a question, something to go away before we start this topic, gives the teacher an idea of where the interest of the class lies. Because obviously, if children have gone away and they've learned lots of information about the Mayans, for example, then you can take that off and think, well, we don't need to waste too much time learning that. We can go deeper into this side of that, the history or the invaders and settlers or whatever. Fabulous Finishes are one of our ways of sharing with parents what the children have learned. And I am just waiting for the day when we can start to have those live again and have all the parents come into school and see it. Unfortunately, at the moment, we can't, but one day we will. And it's just a lovely way for parents to see how much their children have learned in a topic. And the children are so excited to share their learning with you. You might have heard of Carol Dweck and her theory of growth mindset, this idea that that intelligence is not a fixed thing, it's something that grows. So you can say, oh, I haven't understood that yet. That power of yet, a word which enables students to say, it's okay, I can have a go at this because I'm not going to fail, I'm just not going to get there yet, maybe. And it's teaching them as well that struggling is good. We call it grapple time, giving children a bit of time to work something out. Obviously, before you intervene, you sometimes need to intervene, and that's fine, but not straight away. We also use ed tech, but we use it quite carefully. We have iPads, interactive panels in the classrooms. However, we also use pen and paper because that's very important as well, that children still have those fine motor skills. They can write, they can, the evidence that children quite often need to write things down in order for them to retain it. Something they've just read on a screen isn't retained as well. Depends on the child, depends on the way you learn. But we do still use pen and paper. It always worries me when I talk about educational technology, when people think, oh no, it means on the screens. No, they're not. They really are not. They also make decisions about their learning. When I spoke about the example about the maths lesson where they've got to choose the level of difficulty, is because they've grown up through our school with this understanding that I know what I'm good at and I know where I need to push myself and challenge myself a little bit more. And that starts really in early years, where a lot of the activities, if you had never seen it before, you might think, well, they're just playing. No, it's structured play. They go in, the activities are set up. However, they're using their interests, their natural curiosity to make decisions about what they would like to do. We have indoor and outdoor learning spaces as well. We're very lucky that we have quite a good bit of outdoor learning space for central Madrid schools. And it's really important because for me, I can't believe the weather is fantastic here. And in England, we used to have lots of outdoor space, but we could hardly ever use it because it was raining all the time. This is one, and we do use it for learning outdoors. Some children, especially the young ones, they love being outside, and it's so important that we give them the opportunities to do that. We also have online learning journals, so you can see what's happening in school. It's Tapestry for the youngest children in early years, and then we move to Seesaw. And actually, there was a godsend in lockdown because the children were used to looking at Tapestry, to posting on Tapestry, and and Seesaw as well, and parents were used to it. But now it's a great little insight into what they've done during the day. So we also have opportunities outside of the classroom. We have lots of after-school clubs that go on. We have a wide range of clubs. This is one of my favorite photos, Mini Chef. They absolutely love creating. So this is our reception children doing some cooking. We have dance, we have drama, we have music, we have chess, lots and lots of different after-school clubs for children to choose from. We have educational visits, trips both local and further afield. This week we had a trip to a castle for our Year 2 children, and a trip to Rainford, which is a primate sanctuary for our Year 6 children. Absolutely loved it. They've come back really buzzing. We also have residentials as well, and that does start in primary. We have a ski trip that starts from Year 2 in the February break. We have a Hastings Junior Leadership Award, which part of that is to have an overnight stay in Gredos for Year 4 and 5. And this year we're very excited because we booked it last year and it all didn't happen, of course, but to go to Cuffley, Year 6 we'll go to Cuffley Park in England, which is very much outdoor adventure, so outdoor sleeping, etc. And then we also have the Cognita Study Abroad program. That's for older children, the first few years of primary, where you can either go for a term or a year and go into another Cognita school where you'll be learning similar things. So the idea being then that you can go there and then come back and be reassimilated, and you won't have lost any learning because it's roughly the same curriculum. So lots and lots of wonderful ideas there. Lots of philosophy of what we'd like it to look, but what does that actually look like in reality? So these are just some examples of what I've tried to explain looks like. So our outdoor learning in early years in particular. So we've got pictures of what I would call structured play. So this is an activity where they're learning to write letters in sand outside, learning to use fine motor skills. The teacher has demonstrated it, but that's just an activity they can go and do. So that's structured play, but it's not with a teacher on them, but the teacher is watching to see, okay, they can do that. Okay, they're still not holding that properly. Next time we need to think about this. We've also got, this is a very clearly an adult-led activity. So we're counting, we're using dominoes, we're playing dominoes, we're counting, we're matching. And this is, very much adult-led. And then here, this picture here, this is what we would call continuous provision, where the children have this activity. This is a mud kitchen. Yes, they do get dirty in early years. That's what part of it is. They learn, and they learn how to keep themselves clean after a while, but they're playing in their kitchen. And this is very much an activity they can go and do. And what they're learning there is their language. They're practicing that language. So the language of mix, stir, bowl, spoon has been introduced, and they're just now practicing it by themselves. Okay, we have lots of early reading as well. English is an interesting language at times. It's not as simple as phonetically simple as Spanish, and you have to teach very clearly the phonemes and the graphemes that go with that. And we start teaching that as soon as they come to school. And we teach them how to read. So our Spanish colleagues are always thrilled because they say it's really easy, because by the time they come to us and they're in year one, they understand the meaning of print. They understand reading goes from left to right. They understand, they can sound out words. And that's really great. So that's all done. So this is a teacher sharing a story, which obviously is part of early reading. But also this is one of my reception girls who is happily reading her reading book that she takes home. There's the end of nursery, beginning of reception, they start to take reading books home. Some of the reading books to start with have no words in. So what they're learning is to tell a story, which is wonderful. They tell the story and they're using English vocabulary. But then they start to get books with words in. We teach them how to sound the words, how to segment and blend, and therefore they sit beautifully and love reading. I've talked about creativity. Now I've chosen two pictures here about creativity. This is a pre-nursery classroom. So they're learning their gross motor skills. They're knowing that it's mark-making activities, but they can choose any colors they like, and they can decide what they want to do. But in the background, you can see there's other activities. When I talked about the children then go off and they have that idea of continuous provision. So that child at the back there is doing something by herself. Here, there's a group that are working with an adult. And that's very much our early years education, where you go off and you can choose what you do. So that was just an example of that. Here, this is a child who they're creating a movie, and this is our green screen. We are very lucky in both key stage 2 buildings, we have green screens so children can create their own movies. It is fascinating what they can come up with. And I'm always in awe of their skills. We talk about promoting independence. So this picture here is of a reading carousel activity. So what you can't see off shot here is out of the picture is the teacher with a group doing a guided reading session. And this young lady is obviously just doing some personal reading. And these two are working together on a reading activity. So they're working with each other without a teacher. And this young man's also working independently on another activity. So the idea being that everyone in the classroom is doing some form of reading, either comprehension or phoneme matching, or just reading, or a guided reading activity, but they're all doing it at different levels, and they're all doing it either independently or in small groups or or in pairs. And these two are working together on a maths problem. They're learning from each other. So these are learning partners that have been and what happens in every week, they change learning partners. And they work with different people, so they're learning from each other as well. Collaboration, we talked about this, how this is something that employers want to see You know, we need, and collaboration doesn't mean copying from each other. It means working with each other, learning from each other. So these children here are matching, this is a year 1 class, and they're just working out how to put the Numicon together so that they can actually make bonds to 10. And they're doing a great job. This is in this building here, we've got a chessboard. Chess is one of the group chess can be really challenging because they've got to think it through. They've got to talk about what that move will mean, and in small groups decide whether this is the best thing to do or not. And it's actually really, they have to work on their resilience, because quite often if you get a really good chess player in one of the groups, they will win very quickly, and they think, oh, I'm not what we're doing, and so they have to keep going. And it's a lovely way, and this is at playtime. This is their playtime. This is something they enjoy doing. I think it's wonderful. This is our collaboration booth in Soberdale in our new building, and it's absolutely fantastic. It's just a little seat where they can sit. The teacher will send them off, right, you two go away, work on this together, and come back and explain it to the rest of the class. And it's a bit of a soundproof booth as well. It's wonderful. And talk about emotionally engaged, they certainly are. And that's why an example of one of the things we're trying to promote. Inspiring curiosity for learning. So we have, like I said, we're talking about our topics. Space topic is one of the favorite topics all the way up through the school, whether they're doing it in early years and pretending to be astronauts, making rockets, making space stations, all sorts. They find it's wonderful. Or further up school, when they're actually looking at the planets, looking at the different planets, looking at the solar system, learning the names, learning about the solar system, learning what it's like, the gravity, all of that. It's a wonderful topic. We also have robotics, which is an after school club, but we also use robotics Lego we do in the classrooms as well. It really gets them thinking, which is another of our learner habits. They have got to really think, what does that mean? Personalized learning. I think this is something that is really important for people who maybe have not been through a British education. This is around the teachers working individually, one-on-one, small groups with children, because we know at this moment in time, you've not quite grasped that. I'm going to come and work with you. Tomorrow, it might be different. Tomorrow, you might have got it. I'm going to ask you to work with another group, and you can be the mini teacher. You can help them, and that will consolidate your thinking. And in a way, that also helps us to build this empathy muscle, this empathy habit, because children understand that, oh no, my friend doesn't quite understand that now. That was like me yesterday, or that was like me in maths 2 days ago. But today she's struggling with the spelling, so I'm going to help her. It's really important that we do that. But also here, I mean, they're learning, these are our nursery children, that they're learning to share. They're learning that, no, you can only have one of the things. Or they're learning how to work as a small group with the teacher and take turns, because you can't all speak at once because the teacher can't hear you if you're all doing that. It's really key, and I love this. I love this. This little boy here, he loves to set out his table, and then he offered to invite me round for dinner, which I thought was lovely. That doesn't happen very often anymore. We're also, we're 21st century, we are teaching our children how to use technology with responsibility. Another one of this, we do have these interactive panels in all of the classrooms, so teachers can share things, they can cast from iPads straight onto the screen and also onto the iPads. All our children from year 3 to year 6 have an individual iPad. It's theirs for those 4 years while they're at Hastings. And then when they move into year 7, they get laptops. But it's not just, IT for the sake of IT. It has to be something that adds that dimension. Here you've got these girls in year 6 in Soberdale. We're working in a group to create something. And these girls were this young lady was the team lead, so she was having to decide, well, which role will you have, and what will I have, and what will I do. It's magnificent. It's a great way of teaching our children what it's going to be like later on in life. So there are lots of examples of what we do. But also, we do have outdoor spaces. I loved pictures of this. This is our Sobradale campus, which has got a lot more green and a lot more space because it's that slightly further out in Conde Orgaz. And these are our two campuses here, Atholinas and Bendifion, which have had some refurbishing recently. And as you can see, we try and make the best use of our space. I would not want to try and think, oh yeah, we've got playing fields. We do have a sports center around the corner where we can, well, a sports part of the Colegio Mayor, part of the halls of residence where children can go and have PE in a big outdoor space. But we are within the M30 in Chamartin, and therefore we've got much smaller outdoor space, but it's making the best possible use of our space. Okay, so that's it. I've been speaking for a long time, and I should need to stop talking now. So in the end, what I'm saying is what we have, we've been going 50 years. This is our 50th anniversary year this year. So we've had time to refine, improve our educational vision, and we continue to adapt and improve. Online learning was a big adaptation that we had to go through. Hence our now we have the technology, the iPads from year 3 upwards individually. We're moving towards the IB in the oldest 2 year groups. However, we're still keeping A levels for those students that want to stay with that more traditional route. That's fine. But this 50 years of our adapting and refining our educational vision for the 21st century has enabled our pupils all over the world to achieve success. So we have pupils who've left us who are in lots of different parts of the world. We have students who come back and see us as part of the Alumni Association, who are in the States, who are in different parts of Europe, Hong Kong. We're very, very happy with what we've achieved over that time. Right, I'm going to stop talking now and stop sharing my screen because we've come to the end, and hopefully I haven't bored you too much and you've got lots of questions. So now would be a good time to start that. And Sylvia, do you want to stop recording now?
Yes.
Okay, great. So if you want